thought I would break down some of the topics that I chatted about in my last video. And the subject I've received the most questions about is the topic of storytelling and narration of your own life. I believe that we all have our own personal narrative, which is the way that we interpret the world around us. This affects how we act, how we think, and how we react to other people's actions. We have patterns of thinking that have developed as we've grown up and through the ongoing events of our lives. We often think that we are trying to discover or find ourselves. But I have found that it's more helpful to think about how to create yourself and the life around you. You are both the main character and the narrator of your life. You may not have control over all your circumstances, but you can choose how to tell your story, and by default, how to live your life. When we construct a narrative of our lives, it allows us to hold on to important parts, to filter out the trivial and find meaningful pattern. The problem is that we are not the most reliable narrators. You might give yourself the most deflating interpretation of your circumstances, like, I just got fired, now decades of work have amounted to nothing. I have a habit of doing this very thing in my own life. I'm a perfectionist and incredibly critical of myself in everything that I do. This is very much a habit and a way of thinking that began when I was a child. And like many of us, I'm a strikingly harsh narrator of my own life story. Many believe that we've royally stuffed up big time and have just been a victim to our circumstances. But I believe the difference between despair and hope is just a different way of telling a story from the same set of facts. If you gave the factual details of your life story to a friend, there is no doubt that they would come up with a story that was far kinder and more balanced from the same set of facts, peppered with meaningful anecdotes and nostalgia. Our lives can be meaningful and have a positive impact on the world, even when they involve a lot of failure and humiliation. Mistakes don't have to be foolish or final. They can be signs of how little information we had to make the most consequential decisions. In fact, these mistakes can add to the meaning of our life because they bring maturity and allow us to understand more about ourselves. As long as we are able to forgive ourselves for these mistakes, learn from them, and move past them. I have 3 really practical approaches to narrating your life that I use in difficult situations. The first one is give yourself a more positive story prompt. Instead of having a self-defeating mindset, try flipping the story into a positive. Try ignoring the narrator's voice that you normally hear in your head, and instead create a story about yourself in the same situation that is noble, kind, and brave. We can also influence others for the good by sharing these positive stories. By sharing our struggle and our victory, other people can be inspired and encouraged, and even strengthened to face their own life difficulties and struggles. The second one is about viewing difficult people as characters that are meant to teach you something. Not many enduring classic stories have this sort of plot. We grabbed a coffee and did some shopping and went home happy. Our most treasured tales always have antagonists, enemies that the hero must use their inner strength to overcome. Just like fiction, life is filled with supporting characters and antagonists. If we can identify what a person represents in our lives, even hard relationships can become less painful and wounding as we see past them and look straight at what we are learning about ourselves. difficult people can push us to discover our strengths by presenting us with challenges. We may even find ourselves thankful for them. Imagine yourself as a hero in your own battle, and ask yourself, what would I want that character to do in this circumstance? What would I root for the outcome to be in this story? And how can I grow from this experience? You could go even further and speak about yourself in the third person, and be as literal or imaginative as you like. You may even catch yourself laughing at the situation and feeling a tremendous sense of freedom, and like a weight is lifted from your shoulders. Finally, observe yourself with some distance, as if you were a character in a book. We often feel paralyzed when facing a big decision, a career move, a moving house, or a breakup, yet have no trouble doling out brilliant advice to a friend in the same situation. Adopting a fly-on-the-wall stance can curb your emotions and let you approach your problems with the same wise detachment. Sometimes I can see myself acting in a story that I don't really want to be in. For example, making choices that are influenced by worry or fear or anxiety. If I feel as though the plot to my story is out of my control, then I feel my life is just happening to me or coming at me fast. Sometimes I don't want the character in my story to behave the way that it does. Taking the external view of yourself and speaking about the situation differently can actually change your perspective and give you the power to be that person that you want to be. If I mess up with my kids, I can just stop and say, "Whoa, I'm sorry kids. I'm having a rough day. I didn't mean to speak like that. Can we just hug it out?" The shared story is that we don't have to be governed by our emotions or life's hardships. We can pause and create our own responses. Narrating your life as your own story helps you to make sense of your life. It's also a way to build an identity. It is interesting to see how you narrate the story to yourself. Do you see yourself as a protagonist, the victim, or the bystander? What is important for you? Narrating your own story is a powerful tool if you want to change your life. What chapter do you want to close? What new story do you want to create for yourself? Like any good novel, we need to know what the main character likes to wear, what's their favorite color, what makes them feel confident and happy, what food makes them feel healthy and strong, what is their power song, what kind of people do they attract, what kind of character do they admire in others and want to resemble. As you can imagine, these lists can be endless, but they are a lot of fun and require you to be present in your own life, noticing the world around you, creating as you go. It can help you relate better to others as well. So narrative seems like an incongruous framing method for life's chaos, until you remember where stories came from in the first place. Ultimately, the only material we've ever had to make stories out of is our own imagination and life itself. Storytelling, then, fictional or non-fictional, realistic or embellished with dragons, is a way of making sense of the world around us and weaving us beautifully into it. If you connect with this and you found any part of this video helpful, please like and share this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that bell for notifications. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below if this has been inspiring for you, if it's helped you, and if it's spurred on any new thoughts or revelations for you. Thanks guys, we'll see you next time.